Hi YouTubers, this is Gil. So how you guys doing these days? So I've been going through a little depression, but it's nothing to worry about. But anyway, be on the lookout on other videos I'm gonna post up today because it's 4th of July. Cool. 4th of July weekend. Cool. So now let's talk about like what would we have done, or what would I have done if I would have received a stimulus check in the 80s decade? What would I have done? Let's say middle 80s, 1985, let's say, as a 15-year-old kid. Let's say that, like how the kids supposedly received $500 today, like in 2020, pandemic 2020, the stimulus. Each adult gets $1,200 and each kid gets $500, right? Well, let's say that I got $500 in 1985, 86, let's say. I got $500, but let's adjust it to today's inflation and everything. So let's say $250. Let's say we got $250 as a kid in 1985. Now for myself, the first thing that would have came to my mind to buy for $250 if I had $250 in 1986 or 85, what's the first thing that I would have been wanting to buy? Well, I would have been wanting to buy a camcorder, but I mean, at $1,000 that they're asking, I was very hopeless for buying one back then, so I would have been hopeless for buying a camcorder, so forget the camcorder then. But in 1985, 86, if I would have had $250 to spend on anything I want back then, so what would I have bought for $250? Like knowing that I cannot buy a camcorder. Well, I mean, there's so many things that I would have wanted. There's so many things that I like. The first thing that came to my mind was a disk drive for my Atari 800 XL computer. Other things that would have came to my mind is like maybe, let me see, what else? It probably would have been like maybe the latest game system, like a Sega Master System or a Nintendo 8-bit, but I wasn't really into those at that time, particularly those two times, 86 and 85, but I think it was mostly like the computer. I would have wanted a disk drive for the computer. That would have been $200. I would have taken all of my $500 or $250 adjusted for the inflation. But other things that I liked too that were on my wish list was like a color monitor. I wanted a color monitor for my computer, and those were $200 too. So I can only buy one of those two things with the $500 stimulus or $500 2020 stimulus money, but adjusted to $250 in the 80s decade. Now, what are other things that I liked back then that I would have been able to buy? Other choices. Well, other things I liked was this shelf system. It was this really nice shelf stereo system, like with the double cassette player and turntable and like some nice speakers. Like it was this like really nice shelf system that they had available, and I would have been looking at buying one of those for, they had those for like, a nice one was like $200, $250. So I would have taken my whole stimulus money. So that's what I would have bought with the stimulus money, like my stimulus, if we had the stimulus in the 80s decade. So yeah, basically that. But if other things I like too, I've heard about a moped that we could buy used for like, say $200, But I think on the top of my mind, the first thing that would come to my mind if I would have received $500 stimulus but adjusted to $250 in the 80s economy, the first thing that would have came to my mind is a disk drive for my Atari 800 XL computer and some discs, and then I would be getting to work, and I would spend like a whole day, 2 days, like transferring all of my cassette to recorded programs and transfer it onto the disk drive. So yeah, first thing that would have came to my mind. But I had a lot of things on my wish list. Of course, my camcorder was number one, but of course I would have never been able to buy that. Not at the $250. So But for Arnold and Hector, if they would have had $250 to spend on anything they want, adjusted for the inflation in the 80s, I think they probably would have bought just mostly clothes, like the name brand clothes. It was all about peer pressure things that Hector and Arnold was more into back then. Like anything involving peer pressure stuff, you know. Or Hector probably would have put money into, like, probably would have fixed his Volkswagen Beetle, you know, like, because he probably would have used that money to fix it up, you know, to fix up that Beetle, you know, the Volkswagen Beetle. And so that's what I would have done. And for my mom, if she would have received, let's say, $500 adjusted for the $1,200, my mom, I think, probably would have just used that for bills, you know, probably. But now in today's times, what did I observe youngsters buying with their $1,200 stimulus? But I mean, like, if we're talking about if we're talking about the kids with $500, I think the first thing that comes to the kids' mind, I think buying Roblox. Yeah, my kids were looking at Roblox, you know, buying Roblox for that game Roblox, you know. Or, I mean, maybe buying a couple of games for the Switch. That's what my kids basically wanted. And they bought apps for the phone too, like their iPhone, you know. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it is. Like, it's all about buying Roblox or, yeah. But I don't know about every youngster, but I mean, I think these days, it seems like a lot of you youngsters, or some youngsters, they buy Roblox or other things like that, or like the Minecraft or Fortnite or like the games on the phones, you know. Like, a lot of people are buying like bricks or pennies or whatever they call those things, like to advance on the game, coins, I guess it's called coins, like on some of these apps, the games, like, or you buy your way out through a level on Candy Crush. I think it's kind of like mostly that these days, you know, what the youngsters will buy these days, like with money that they get. I mean, at least that's what I kind of observed with my kids. But I think I would imagine a conservative kid would probably think about buying an Xbox One system, or they would probably save up for the next release Xbox that's coming up. I guess it's PlayStation 5 and Xbox One X, or what is it called? What's that new one called? X Series or something? Yeah. So I mean, that's what I observed, you know. So to go back to my story, like what I would have done with my stimulus if we had a stimulus in 1980s, in 1985 or 86, I would have loved to buy a camcorder, but forget about that because I would not have had enough money to buy one of those. So instead, the first thing that would come to my mind is a disk drive for the computer, for my Atari 800 XL, and maybe a couple of games if I had enough money. But the disk drive was going to take most of the money there, you know. So there you have it. Alrighty, I hope you liked this video, and I hope you have a good 4th of July, and be on the lookout for more videos, because now I finally feel fine from the overriding of my depression and everything. So there's nothing to worry about my depression because I'm working on it. I mean, it's the Lord, you know, the Lord God is who's helping me with this. All right.